It's all about compromise and just sacrificing one thing for another to get what you want. For me, it's important, and that's why I've got this process, which I'm going to share with you today. Hello, welcome to Swaddy Car. My name is Rob, and today we're going to be talking about how to find a condo here in Bangkok, Thailand. What my thought process is from start to finish, as well as some tips, tricks and advice towards the end of the video that will hopefully make your journey much easier. What I'm going to be doing is overlaying some video footage I've collected over the past year, because I've seen over 100 plus condos due to a collaboration and my own personal experience, and I'll get into more of that in the future. But also I've had a boatload of questions from my condo tour videos. I think I've got 4 condo tour videos now, and I've had thousands of questions from you guys just curious about my thought process. You know, do you go to the agent first? Do you search first? And we're going to go through this process in just a second. But like I said, I'm going to be overlaying footage to sort of make this a bit more of an interesting video and show you a bit of variety between some of like the facilities and the condos and all sorts of other stuff, so you don't have to keep staring at my face for the rest of this video, so don't worry about that. Okay, so let's start with my thought process, where I go from sort of start to finish, because a few of you guys were asking me what agent I use. And don't forget, all of this advice today is my personal opinion. I'm not a professional, I'm not an agent, I'm not an agency, I don't work for an agency, anything like that. So this is just my personal opinion and my experience and the way I like to do things. I'm very OCD when I try and find a place for myself to live. I have friends that will just spend 30 minutes going, that's it, I'll take that condo, and then they'll move in, right? For me, I'd rather spend a good few weeks searching, finding that right home, because I'm spending the most amount of time there, you know? So for me, it's important, and that's why I've got this process, which I'm going to share with you today. So step 1 is to work out what area you want to live in, which suits your personality, which characteristics suit you, and well, your budget as well. Do you want to be somewhere with like really good transport links, or are you going to have a motorbike or a car to get you around somewhere, so the transport links don't really mean anything to you? Do you need to be somewhere that's got, you know, cheap food, or, you know, easy access to food? You know, you need to sort of like work out which areas are good for you. Now, I've tried putting out some areas, like videos about different areas here in Bangkok already, covering Sukhumvit, Khao San Road and Rama 9. But if you need like other areas in Bangkok, check out Bangkok Pat's channel. He's done some really good in-depth videos about certain areas in Bangkok that I could never do. I've not spent enough time in them, so yeah, go and check out his channel as well. Kind of work out roughly what area you want to be here in Bangkok that's going to suit you. And just to elaborate on that thought, I've written some examples down for the Asok area. It's got amazing light life, probably the best in Bangkok. It's got the best transport links in the whole of Bangkok as well, but it's expensive. The accommodation is expensive, and the day-to-day food is expensive, and there's not so much street food. If that's not a problem for you and the rest of the stuff ticks all the boxes, then Asok's really going to be the location for you to live. It's where all the action is. Rama 9 has got cheap food, almost no nightlife, limited transportation links, but it's got affordable accommodation. The bang for buck for condos there is absolutely amazing. And Khao San Road has got cheap food, cheap accommodation, but crazy poor transport links and heavy foot traffic from tourists. So you really need to sort of like weigh up the pros and cons for each and every area and sort of narrow it down to where you want to be before you move on to step 2. Okay, so that's step 1, is narrow down what area you're in. Once you've got that, and for the sake of this video, we're going to use Rama 9 as an example. Step 2 is the proximity to the transport links. How close do you need to be? Are you going to have your own transport? Are you going to be walking, or are you going to get motor taxis every morning? I get motor taxis quite often from where I am to the BTS, and it's not too much of an issue. In the future, do I want to live closer to a transport link? Yeah, I think so. I know it's only like 20 baht and 5 minutes, but there's some days where I'm just like, I wish I could just walk outside, jump on the BTS or the MRT and get to where I need to go instead of relying on that motor taxi every day. Well, step 3 is to go and spend some time in the area. I would recommend at least 2 days, preferably if you can spend sort of daytime and evening time in the same area as well, because things can really change from day to night here in Bangkok that you wouldn't expect. None of this stuff you can tell by looking at Google Maps or Google Street View. You really need to sort of be there on the ground, experiencing, sort of like looking up and going, do you know what, I like this area, or on the other hand, you might not like it. So yes, step 3 is to go and spend some actual time in the area that you're thinking about living. Step number 4 is to work out what kind of facilities and things that you actually need when you're getting your condo. When I selected the Ashton Asok, I kind of chose it because I like the pool. I thought the pool looks amazing. I was like, I'm gonna be there every single day. What I didn't realise was how cold it would be because it was under the shade all day. It was never fully in the sun for the entire day, and well, I used it 5 times in the whole year I stayed there, and I was pretty gutted. For the sake of just putting my hand in the pool to find out whether it is cold or not, you know, you can do this when you go and search for the condos. Just put your hand in the pool, and that might be a deal breaker for you if it's too cold for you, or maybe if you're a bit more manly than I am, then you won't care. But yeah, things like that is worth considering when you're looking at these sort of places. Other things like onsens and tennis courts and gyms and things like that, you know, these are all like extras you can add on top. The other day I saw an essence room. Do you need an essence room in your life? Well, you know, you need to narrow these things down as well. Also consider kitchens. I've had so many questions about kitchens in my videos, and because there's street food outside, like tasty, yummy street food absolutely everywhere, but this might be a deal breaker for you. You might love your cooking, you might want to do your own cooking, and well, this is going to be a little bit more difficult for you if you're on a budget. Again, it all comes down to people's circumstances, their budgets and everything else. If you're absolutely minted, then you're going to get a kitchen no matter what. You're spending 100,000 Thai baht a month, 200,000, kitchens are not going to be a problem. But for me, on a 20,000 baht budget, I'm not going to find one, well, not for a reasonable price anyway. Don't go just yet. I've still got my tips and advice coming up that you've never heard of before, but let's move on to step number 5, and that's to get searching. Look online. Google. Don't worry about certain websites for different condo companies or anything like that. Just look on Google and you'll find like Hip Flat, DP Property, Fazwaz, a bunch of others will list, and just check all of them. For the most part, there's hundreds of different agents dealing with hundreds of different condos. There's probably over 1 million plus condos available here in the city. So it's just a case of just search, reach out, wait for a response. Half of the adverts online, unfortunately, just either don't exist or they've been taken, or it's just a minefield, and you kind of got to be patient in this whole process. But just keep trying and get as many viewings as possible within that time, and yeah, just get the search going. What I'll do is I'll link some of the good websites that I've used in the past for communicating backwards and forwards to people, and I'll put them all down below to help you guys if you want to use them specifically. So I want to quickly sort of swing back to a comment I made earlier in the video about people asking which agent I would recommend. And for the most part, if you're on the budget I am, sort of 20 to 25, 30,000 Thai baht per month, I wouldn't use any agent like specifically. I would just search until you find the right condo for you, and then whatever agent's dealing with it at the time, just go with them, and then whatever, it makes no odds. But if you're looking at the higher end, sort of 50,000 Thai baht or above, then yes, maybe it can be more beneficial to deal with an agent. They might know more about the area, the particular building, and everything else that's going on with it. I can only recommend one agent that I know is absolutely amazing, and that's Jerome and Morella from Sukhumvit Homes. I know them personally, and I know they've got over a decade of experience here in Bangkok, and well, he knows absolutely everything about all of the areas anyway, but like they specialise in the Sukhumvit area, but you can't go wrong with them. So reach out to them only if you're serious, please guys, but I'll put all their description and details down below. Oh man, look at this beast. Oh, there's more than one of them. If you leave them alone, don't chase them, they're pretty good with you. It's like a celebrity cat. So let's move on to the tips and advice, and this kind of like ties into number 5. When you're searching, when you're actually physically there looking at the unit and the facilities and everything else, these are the things that you should consider. Now I've got 7 of them written down, and they're in no particular order, so let's get on with them. Hopefully when you're in the places you'll be like, oh, that's the thing that Rob said about, and hopefully it will help you along and save you some money, some time, and just a load of hassle in the future. So let's jump straight in. The first one is aircon units. Not all the aircon units are the same. At the Ashton Asok, they had like built-in hotel style into the ceiling. I'll overlay a picture now of what the Ashton ones look like, and they look really nice. They look really neat and slim and everything else, but they cost 3,000 Thai baht per month, or that's what I was paying, and I thought this was maybe normal. What I didn't realise was the smaller units that sort of stick out, the older style ones that I've got now, only cost 1,500 Thai baht. So it's half as much money for exactly the same aircon. Like there's no difference in like temperature or anything like that, and I'm saving half as much money. So keep these things in consideration if you're sort of trying to find somewhere on a budget. half as much money for the aircon units. Number 2 is the proximity to the bin cupboard. Oh man, the amount of times I've been dropping bottles into the bin cupboard and I'm just like bang, smash, and I look at the door next to it, someone's living there and I feel so sorry for them. I can only imagine when things pick up and it's really busy, people constantly putting stuff in the bins, and if you're living anywhere near that bin cupboard, you're going to hate yourself for the rest of time. You're going to want to move out, trust me. And it's not something I've even thought about when I'm looking, like where's the bin cupboard? You know, it's not the first thing you think of when you're going to look at condos in Bangkok, right? So yeah, proximity to the bin cupboard is number 2. I bet you've never heard that one before. Right, number 3, Airbnb use. I know this is a hard one to know, but you can kind of get this vibe when you walk into the lobbies, people sitting there, a bunch of suitcases, they're all waiting to be checked in, or they're waiting for someone to check them in. Again, this goes back to me saying to spend some time in the area or hang around not hang around the condos, that's a little bit weird, but you can kind of get like a vibe of how much places are getting used by Airbnb. You can sort of see online, you can get feedback on maybe some of these videos of people saying, oh, I've stayed there, I've stayed there. You know, some places are way more popular than others, and not that you don't want to stay in a place that's used by Airbnb, but it can become a little bit of a hassle in the future. Number 4 is the electricity rates. Keep in mind what the rate is. There's a government rate, and some of the places they'll charge you less rent, but then they'll try and jack up the rate on the electricity, nearly double sometimes. And then when you get that first bill come through, you'll be kicking yourself. They'll be trying to charge you 4,000, 5,000, 6,000 Thai baht for 1 month's use, and you won't have a leg to stand on because you've already signed it. So yeah, keep an eye on what the electricity rates are, and I'll try and put in the description down below what a fair rate is and what the government rate is as well. Number 5, and don't think you've heard this one either. I told you, these are going to be things that you've never heard of. Number 5 is open plan corridors. Oh man, the place I'm in now has an open plan corridor, and I never realized how much noise it makes. If someone slams their door 15 stories up, you're going to hear it in your room. It's a nice design that looks good, but practically you can hear everyone putting their stuff in their bin cupboard 15 floors up and 15 floors down. Anyone slamming their door any time of night, you can hear it constantly. When someone pushes the button on the lift 20 floors up, you hear the thing go ding ding on your floor, and it's just, I'm kind of getting used to it, but it can just be a bit frustrating at times as well. When there's so much going on and just everything else, just a bit of peace and quiet wouldn't go amiss. And I think going from the Ashton to Kew Chidlong, I can really tell the difference with the noise. Number 6 is proximity to nightlife. If you're looking to stay around, especially around the Sukhumvit area, do you want to be staying on, you know, Soi 4 where Nana Plaza is, or Soi 8 or Soi 10, or you know, Soi 23 where all the massage places are. Soi 21 is actually not too bad, even though Soi Cowboy's on it. Ashton's across the road from Soi Cowboy, but you would never notice living there. So yeah, proximity to the nightlife. Obviously things are starting to stay open later and later in the city now. Eventually it's going to be 3 o'clock, then 4 o'clock, then 5 AM, you know, and then people are going to be coming home. More and more tourists are going to be coming for the next few years, and this can just become a bit of a drag. This is why I didn't stay at Soi 11. Originally I was looking at Hyde 11, a really nice building, great facilities, rooms at a good price, but on the doorstep of the nightlife all the time. Every single time you would leave, it'd be like, hello, welcome. And for me, that would just do my head in after a while. I like a bit of peace and quiet, and I wanted to stay out of all of that. So yeah, proximity to nightlife. And the last of the number tips is number 7, which is not all the rooms are the same. And what I mean by that, and for example, I went to a Trendy, which I think is down near Soi 15 on Sukhumvit Road, and I saw a room and I was like, no, this is terrible. I don't want to stay in this building. Look at the room, the building's not great. And then she was like, no, look at this next room. I was like, okay, I'm here, let's go and take a look. I looked at the second room and it was amazing. It was so good. It had been recently renovated, some money had been spent, and I was just like, oh man, it really changed my view on what can be put in the same building. So you can't really judge one room for the building and then sort of like write it off. So give certain buildings a chance and just have a look at different things and sort of go from there. Oh, you're okay. So bye, Mai. Okay, let's just summarize quickly, because for the most part this whole video is all about one thing, and that's compromise. You compromise one thing for another. You want an onsen, you might have to sacrifice walking an extra 50 yards to the MRT station or something. You know, you want more space, you might have to get an older building. If you want a newer building, you might have to sacrifice space. It's all about compromise and just sacrificing one thing for another to get what you want, and it's just playing this little juggling game until you find the perfect kind of mix of all of them. It can take some time and you need to be patient, but you can do it, and hopefully the advice I give you today will help you along the way and sort of like save you some money and time and sort of all that sort of jazz, because it can be a headache. Moving is a stressful time, especially for me when I'm so OCD. For the most part, all you need to do is put down the 2-month deposit, 1 month upfront, and then you're good to go. That's about it. As long as you can legally stay here in the country, you've got the funds in your account, and just that's about it really. If you've got any questions, leave them down below and let me know what your experience is. Any advice or tips or tricks and anything else that you think should be added to this video, put below and I'll put it in the description as well. Thank you guys for watching, and I hope this video was informative and helpful, and I'll catch you on the next video. Peace.